Okay. Wait, I don't think record. Okay, that is recording. All right, there it is. Okay. So let's go to our navbar. So we're going to want this to change a wee bit. So yeah, if we have a user, we'll want to probably have like a log out button. If we don't have a user, we'll probably want to say something like login and register. So let's do that. So what we're going to do here is we can just grab our user, so const user from our provider using our use context hook. Use context, import that from React, pass it the auth context. Oh, this is a class component. Yeah, I want to make this a functional component. So const navbar. This one should be pretty easy to switch. So just make that a function. And get rid of these two brackets for our, well, actually I can just get rid of the render. So we return the JSX, get rid of that render function. I'm not going to get location from this.props, I'm going to get it from props. So I now need to throw props inside of here. There we go. That one was pretty straightforward to switch because we weren't doing any real actions in here. Let's see here. And then, yeah, this one I'm going to also switch up a little bit because we have our register. I'm actually going to just Command X this. So what I want to do is right here, let's go ahead. I'm going to create a function called write nav items. So we're going to draw this to the right side. Let's write. There's a function. So I'm going to, for this, I'm going to return a menu dot menu. It's just semantic stuff. And then I'm going to give this a proper position and set that equal to right. And then let's throw in our register link there. So we should still have our home and slash components and our register button, but now they should be two should be on the left and the register should be on the right. There we go. Home, components, register. What else do we want? So yeah, we're going to say this. I want to do a check here. I want to see if we have a user. I'm just going to copy this menu.menu. Actually, so I'm copying and pasting this menu.menu twice. Really, where I could throw this, where I should throw this is right here. So I don't have to duplicate that menu.menu. Just it's a small thing, but just makes it a little cleaner. And this one's not going to be a link. This is just going to be a log out button. And this isn't really going to be a path. What we're going to do here on click, we're going to do a handle log out. Where do I get this handle log out from? Well, that's actually going to be from our context, from our provider, I should say. Just while I'm here as well, we don't have this component made, but we are going to have a login path here. So we're going to want to be able to log in or register. So if we have a user on our right menu, we should have a button that says log out, where we call this handle logout function. If we don't have a user, then let's throw those two paths in there to either go to the login page or the register page. And just to kind of make this look a little cleaner, just how you might see it in some other UIs, we threw this menu in on the right side. So yeah, my login path's not defined. That's cool because we haven't done that. If I go to register, there's my register. So now I can do like test 1, 2, 3. I register. That does my register call to my database, which then sets my user. And so now I have a user. Now I have this log out. Oh, I think that's a bad mess. I think I have the log it as login user. That's just a mistake I have in my provider. That should say log out user. And actually for now, this one's pretty simple. We can just set user to null. Let's try that again. Register, let's register a user. We're still on this register page. We'll kind of look at this in a second, but we can log out. Logged out user. Now we're back to saying log in and register. Any questions on that? So let's go to, let's just take our, let's create this login component. So I'm just essentially, this is going to be very similar to my register. So I'm going to just take this register, copy and paste it inside of here. Call this login. And this one's going to be login. One thing I don't need the password confirmation for a login. So I can just get rid of that, can change this to login. So I don't need this check anymore. I don't need this state anymore. And I don't need to handle register, I need to handle login. And to the handle login, I still want to pass the email and password. Still want to do that, but just call the handle login function. So let's see if that is working. So let's go to our, I'll need to go to my app.js and add this. So we have this login path that will be our login component. So we do have a test at test.com 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 login. And we're sending that data to our provider. We're not doing an Axios call or anything, but that's kind of all set up for us. Questions on the login form? No? All right, so let's go do this logic inside of here. So this is going to be very similar to our, I mean, I can essentially copy what's inside of my handle register because it's going to be very similar. The only thing that's going to change is probably this path. I'll just say unsuccessful login. Maybe like this, check username, password. Because if you get, if we don't, this is going to fail. We're going to hit the catch. So we'll hit catch here if user is not in database. So like bad username and password. You probably don't want to like tell the user, like this is a case where you probably don't want to like tell the user that like, you know, couldn't find email in database. So, you know, maybe you want people to know if someone's trying to be like a bad actor. You know, be like, oh, I could not find gmail.com in there. Then they would know, oh, that's an actual email in the database. You can be kind of generic with this. You could say like bad username, like say something like that. Let them know it was not successful, like, you know, it's a bad username or password. Oh yeah, and we need to change our path. So for that, we could once again go to localhost 3001. Whatever, just get a 404 so we can see the routes. So we're going to want to do a post. We want to create a new session. We're logging in. I'm pretty sure it's a post. These two are confusing. But let's do a post and do API auth assign in. We'll want to pass the user. No way. Okay, so let's try that now. So if I go to localhost 3000, go to my login, click login. Okay, so that was an error. Let's see what's going on there. I'm going to inspect. I was not expecting that to fail, but let's go look at my error. res.data.errors. Email, okay, so it's saying email has already been taken. That makes me seem like it's trying to do that register call. So maybe that didn't like save. I'm gonna refresh. Let's try that one more time. And there we go. So it just didn't save that, I guess. And I logged in and now I got my user back. This should be my first user, I believe. So this should be the user with ID 1. And there it is. So now we logged in as that first user. There's the data. And boom, we can log out. Now we're logged out. Any questions on that? Trying to see which part I should go to next. All right, we're making good time. All right, we're kind of getting ahead. All right, so there's no questions. You can keep going if not. Let's see. Notice here, like in this response when I log in, not in my data, but in my headers, there's my token. I do have this token that, I want to keep track of because that's what I'm going to want to send for. I have to I get back a token, and then if I ever do like an API call, I'm probably going to want to send that token for an API call. So let's go ahead and start kind of handling this, because there's some stuff that, I don't know, this is going to be a pain to kind of manage. So we're going to use another package to manage this token getting sent to us, because we get this token back in our response, and then we need to send it in our requests. And what we're going to do is we're going to I wonder if I can throw a debugger right here. Let me just see if I can get this values. I'm going to log in. Let's see if I hit that debugger. Let's refresh, log in. Let me see if I have Axios here. Axios. Let's see if I can just call Axios right here. Let me grab that. Because I want to grab stuff like this. So let me just show you. So we have our data here. We have our response. So I want to grab the response data and hit headers. Where is it? No, sorry, it's res headers. And then we want things like the access token. I'm gonna have to do it like this because that's coming back a little weird. Access token. So if I do my response.headers.access token, there's another thing like token type. There's a client. These are things we're all going to want to keep track of. And then we're going to want to set these, because in Axios, I can do something like this. And I can kind of set Axios by default. I can't do it in here because Axios is not defined in here. But I could say something like this, Axios default header common access token equals this. Now, it's not so much you have to completely understand what's going on here, but we see we have the token right here. And what I'm going to do is just by default, set this access token, this Axios default to that token. So it's going to keep track of it behind the scenes. So that's one way I do this, but we're going to use a package that is going to do this underneath the hood that we don't need to worry about. Another thing that it's going to use underneath the hood is something called local storage. What? Okay, so yeah, I'm like wondering why I have an access token in local storage right now. But local storage, the whole point of local storage is it works. Like this is how you can persist memory if like the user doesn't have internet access, or if like they close their browser. So this token, this local storage I have here, this must have been set from like the last time I used, a app that had device token auth. I wonder which app it is. Sub. Anyway, so local storage is pretty simple. It's just built into your browser. And I can like get an item from it. So it's just like a key value pair store. So I can get item, like let's say yo, that's not in there. Well, I can set an item. So that's going to be the key. And then the second argument is going to be the value. And now if I try to get that item, yo, there it is. So this is how you can save data to your like computer on the browser. So what we're doing is we're going to use a gem that is, first of all, it's going to use Axios. It's going to store these headers, these tokens for us. So when we get them and send them, it's going to kind of do that for us. But then we're also going to use local storage to store our tokens on our browser, just to see if we're like logged in and that kind of thing. Because let me show you this error. Let me get rid of my debugger. So if I'm logged in right now, right? I have this log out. If I refresh my page, refreshing my page logs me out. So that's probably not, because remember when I refresh my page, I'm like resetting my state. I'm going to like refresh this user provider, and my initial state for my user is null. So by refreshing, I set my user to null. That's probably not what I want. If I refresh an app, that shouldn't log me out. So we're going to fix that right now. Because what we're going to do is we're going to get this token back from our backend. We're going to store it to local storage. And then we're going to create this component that when we refresh, we're going to go to local storage and check to see if that token's there. And then we're going to take that token, and then we need to validate it. This is where this gets a little complicated. So let's say I log in and I do local storage. I log into my app and I get my token. And this one, I do have a token inside of here, actually. I don't know how long this has been in here for. That's probably no longer a valid token because there's like time limits on these. So something I need to do is, so I need to check to see, do I have an access token in local storage? Cool. If I do, if I don't, that means like I'm not logged in. If there's no access token, I'm not logged in. if I do have an access token, I need to go do an API call to see if it's still valid. If it's valid, that means I'm logged in and I'll get back the user. If it's not valid, I'll get back an error that says this is an invalid, which means I'm not logged in. So we're going to create a component that does what I just said there. Does any of that make sense? Let's code it out and then I'll say that one more time, maybe draw it up. Okay. So we're going to add a package. So let's go to our client directory. What am I doing? I want to go to my terminal. And in my cd into client, and we're going to do a yarn add devise Axios. Yeah, let me select this out, what we're going to throw in here. So in our index.js, I'm going to import this init middleware from devise Axios. And then we're going to call that function. And actually this library, this devise Axios, this is a pretty small library. This was actually written by my teacher at DevPoint Labs. But we can look at this. It's just one file. But yeah, it's just kind of keeping track of some of those headers we saw, and setting those up with Axios so they're when we get those tokens back, it's going to keep track of those, and when we send them, it's going to keep track of them. And then it's doing some stuff with local storage. Cool. So now that we have that, let's just see if we can see this working. So I'm going to go to my React app. I'm actually going to clear my local storage. I'm going to do local storage dot clear. That actually removes everything in my local storage. And then I'm going to, let's say, log in. Thought I got rid of that debugger. Let me see if I did debugger. I feel like I did debugger. So no, I didn't. Command. Okay. So I just let me try logging in again. Login. Oh my gosh, I'm going to refresh. Login. Let's go to local storage. So I didn't do any, I cleared my local storage, I logged in, and now I have, this access token inside local storage. Cool. So what we want to do is we want to create a component. When I refresh, it's kind of going to check, it's going to go into local storage, see if I have that token. If I do have that token, it's going to validate it against the API and so forth. So let's come in and create this file. I'm also going to do an add. I want to commit. It's going to commit all these files. Sure. Those are all staged. Okay. I don't really care about this commit message. All right. So in my components, I'm going to make a new file. I'm going to call this fetch user.js. So I'm going to do my import React. Let's do my use context. Use state and use effect. We're doing a lot here from React. From React. This one's also going to import Axios from Axios. Let's go ahead and create this component fetch user. Let's grab our props. Okay, so actually, let's do our use effect first. I'm going to create this check user function. I don't want that in my array. I want this to be in my function. Let's define this const check user. And we're going to have some loaded state in here because this is going to be an async call that might take some time. So we want this set loaded. Maybe I should call this checked. I'm going to veer off the notes. Let's see if this is. In the notes, it's called loaded. I'm going to rename this variable to checked. You could loaded. It's kind of the same thing. Has this been loaded or not? But I'm going to call this check. I think this might be a little more clear. Okay. So I'm going to have this check state that's just keeping track whether or not like we've checked if our user's here or not. Because what this is going to do is I'm going to return checked. So I'm going to see if this has been checked, then I can return props.children. And if it's not returned, if it's not checked, I'm going to return null. Where's my error? Is it not like that?
I think you spelled async wrong.
Every time, thank you. That is exactly what I did. Okay. Let's just look at this right now. So we're going to use effect. We're going to check our user, but let's see what this checked is doing. And this props.children are null. Let's export default this function, this React component. Because here's where we're going to use this. We're actually going to use this in our app.js. So I'm going to go to my app.js. And I'm going to throw this right here. Fetch user. And I'm going to wrap this, you know, all my routes inside of here. So while because what this fetch user is doing is it's going to go, you know, fetch my user from local storage and then check the token, see if it's a valid user. While it's doing all of that, I don't want to render any of this. I don't want to render any of my routes. So check right now is false, and we're not going to change that. So if I go to my app, I need to user state. What else? Check users not defined. I need lowercase check user. So I'm going to all these pages, like they're not showing up. So I'm not rendering those components because I'm technically right now, like I'm checking to see if my user's there or not. I don't know if it's valid. Once this goes to true, then my routes do show up. Does that make sense what this component's doing? We are checking if token is valid or not. So let's do that in this check user function, because that's where we're going to do this logic. And I'm going to just copy this comment here. So if a user is authenticated or does not have an access token, we set loaded to true and return from the function called. So let's, if they're authenticated, we don't have this. Let's just say if we have a user, so let's go ahead and grab, we need to grab our user from our context. Right, if we have a user, you know, in our React state, that means we are authenticated. Or this one's kind of a weird statement because it's like, are we authenticated or are we not authenticated? It's kind of some weird logic here. I'm going to check to see, does local storage have this access token? We set checked to true and return. So if we have a user in state in our React state, that means we're authenticated. So we don't need to check to see if our token's valid. So we can set check to true and return. If we don't even, okay, so this would be the case. So we don't have a user because that would be false. So then we go check this one. Well, do we have a access token? If we don't have an access token, that means we're not logged in and we don't even have an access token in local storage. So we're not authorized. So we'll set check to true and return false. Does that make sense? We're not checking to see if we're like logged in or not. I mean, we're checking this. We just need some time to check to see, do we have a user or do we not? So once we check, it doesn't matter what the case is. Once we know either is true, then we can set check to true. Okay, so if we get down here, So if we don't hit that first if statement, then we're going to hit this case where the user is not authenticated, but there's an access token in local storage. So now we need to check to see if that access token is valid. So this is where we do our Axios call. So we can do an await. And this is the path for this one, axios.get. It's going to be /API /auth validate token. And we don't need to pass our token here or any headers because that devise Axios package is doing that for us here. If this is successful, if it is a valid token, this is going to be a successful Axios call, and our res.data.data is going to be that user. So then we can actually set our user. If this fails, this means the token was invalid. So we don't really need to handle this. Because the user will not, it just means the user's token is like expired. And we're going to leave the user, leave user null. And then we can do like our finally here and do our set checked to true. So our initial state, we want set check to be false. Then when this component mounts, which is when our app mounts, so this would be like someone refreshes or someone goes to their page. This could also be like you close Safari or you close Chrome, you open it back up and go to the website. It's going to call the fetch user, so it's going to wait before we render the routes. It's going to check, do we have user? Do we have local storage? If we need to, we'll go check it to see if the token's valid. Set user is not defined. Okay, yeah, set user. I need to go to my auth provider. And I don't think I sent this one down. So just throw that in my value. Then in my fetch user, I can pull that from my context. No. Find. Let's go ahead and log in. Why is my login not setting my user? I should see the log out button. Oh, I'm console.logging Axios. I got rid of that set user function inside of here. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. That's why that's not going to log out because I deleted that for some reason. Let's log in. Let's go ahead and refresh. I'm still logging that Axios thing. Okay. I click log out. So now I'm logged out. I can click log in. I'm logged in, but now I can, if I refresh my page, I mean, I don't know if you can see this. It's like for a second, it says login and register. Because for that second, when I refresh, I don't have the user. So the user's null in my Navbar. So it shows that other one. And then I do the fetch user does its magic, goes and validates the token, gets the user back, and now we're logged in. So now I can go to like, in another way, like I can go to localhost 3000. The fetch user works, it grabs, checks the token, does the call, and there's my user. So there's a good little component for you there. Questions on that? Cool. Let me slack out this fetch user component. So you have that. And I'll also just push this up to GitHub, but yeah, if there's no questions, dot. Yeah, we can take a little break. Let's come back at, let's call it 11:45. That code should be up on GitHub.